Well, I'm sat here looking for an old box of dog-eared pictures. Now, each picture that I'm looking at here brings back so many memories. It invokes all those emotions of the day I caught those carp. Sadly, the old digital era has kind of moved on a little bit, and printing pictures out seems to be a bit of a thing of the past, but I've got shoe boxes and shoe boxes of these old images, and I often look through them and yeah, with really fond memories. You know, sadly, a lot of these carp have gone now. You know, when I was catching them back in my early 20s or even younger, they were probably 30 or 40 years old at the time. But yeah, so they've passed on to the great lake in the sky. But you know what? There's still a few that are still around. You know, that one in particular there, I was only chatting to a friend last week, the number 9 bus from Stoneacres. It's still very much a sought after carp, and you could argue one of the best in the country. And that one's got to be probably 40 years old. And that's the purpose of this blog. I'm going in search of some antique carp. Now, trying to find venues that house them, or you know, venues around the country that have carp of this age is really tricky. But I know just the place, and that's the Walthamstow complex. I've been there before. It's always been a lovely place to escape. It's run by an incredible team of rangers, and what's more, it's a wildlife oasis smack bang in the busiest city in the country. So it ticks all the boxes, and it's got a couple of really old carp still knocking about. Now, when you do a bit of research on Walthamstow, you'll quickly realise the history, the steep, rich history of that place. I mean, those reservoirs started to be dug in 1863, and it's an incredible feat of Victorian and Edwardian engineering, to be honest. They finished digging them in 1904, and the whole purpose, and it still is, was to provide so many Londoners with clean drinking water. And that is obviously still very much a big objective of the complex, but of course you're allowed to fish it too. Now, as I mentioned, you can do nights at Walthamstow. It's predominantly days, but you can do nights, and they allow you to do nights the first weekend and the last weekend of the month, I think. So I'm heading up for a couple of days in search of an old, crusty, city warlock of a carp that I hope are older than me. So the next time you see me, I'll have my barrow loaded and I'll be heading over the busy road into the complex in search of an antique carp or two. Well, we've barrowed all the way up to the top of the lower, so that's obviously the opposite side of the road to where I've been before. I've always fished sort of the 1, the 2 and the 3. Been some lovely fish caught out the lower in recent weeks, so I thought, why not give it a go? It's a bit of a trek, you know. You need to load the barrow light, and if you look at some of the anglers that fish around here, they've got it down to a T. They've literally got no kit at all. Some of them even ride around on electric bikes or scooters, and to be honest, I can see the reason why. It's a hell of a trek up here. The wind is trickling in. It's day 1, up here for a couple of days, and we've just got a couple of rods out on the end of the wind. It looks really good. There's a bit of a tinge in terms of algae in the water, and this is where we're going to fish for the next couple of hours. We're fishing off the barrow, all the kit's still on the barrow, typical Stowe style really, because we've got a great view of the lake here, and if we see anything we'll be on the move. But the wind's trickling in, hasn't felt like this for a long time with the stagnant hot weather, so to be honest, if the carp are reading the textbook with the wind kicking in here, I'd like to think we might see one just stick their nose out and get a bait to it. But for the time being, going to put the kettle on and watch the world go by and dream of a lovely Stowe carp. Well, with the wind trickling in, you would have thought they would have been sat on the end of it, but ironically they weren't. We sat up there for at least 2 hours, dodging the showers, and we didn't see a single carp show, which was really strange. We honestly thought we had it right, so we made the decision to load the barrows, hit the towpath, and head right down to the other end of the lower Maynard. Now, we thought we'd seen one as the weather broke on the back of the wind. Was it a carp? Not 100% sure, but that's all we had to go on. So we loaded the barrows, headed down there, knowing full well this afternoon the showers were about to roll in and we needed to set up a bit of a camp. Well, as you can see, I'm in a different surrounding. most importantly, I've got the brolly up, which is a rare thing, believe it or not, at Walthamstow. Not many people take a brolly. If they do, they take a little golf umbrella, stick it in their rucksack, or stick it in their on the side of their rucksack or in their rod bag. And actually sort of setting up a bit of a camp like I've done now is rare to see, because people are usually fishing off their barrow and are on their toes. Now, me and Liam have spent most of the morning walking round on our barrows, typical Stow fashion, and it's been lashing down with rain. So we've seen very little in the way of fish. So I'm going to change my tactics. I'm going to set up here and I'm going to put a bit of bait out and try something that I'm sure most of the Stow carp are not used to seeing, because people are here for the day, walking round, travelling light, often don't carry much bait and casting singles to shows. So I'm going to have a complete U-turn. I had a bit of a eureka thought and thought, do you know what? I've got at least another 24 hours that I'm going to put some bait out and see if I can just bring them to me and get them to graze. Hopefully they're hungry. The weather conditions have changed, and I've got to sort of stay put anyway this afternoon, because the reason I'm coming up is to record a podcast with Alfie Russell. Been meaning to catch up with Alfie for such a long time. Our diaries haven't quite aligned, but today it's going to happen. So I'm going to sit here, enjoy the Walthamstow sunshine, sort of find some areas that I'm happy with this evening, put a bit of bait out, record a podcast and watch the world go by, because it's a really fascinating place. It's a wildlife oasis, and I've been enjoying watching the herons just on the river there. They're sort of semi-tame because they're used to seeing people in the city. Very unlike the herons in the Cotswolds. You can walk really close to them and film them, and I've been watching them picking up all the little minnows from the stream, and it's been really good. I've just, you know, part of fishing is enjoying nature, isn't it? And I could easily get wrapped up in that all day and not focus on the fishing. The kingfishers are darting past, but yeah, all the herons and the wading birds are in the river, and I just find it really, really entertaining sitting watching them. But I must get my stuff together, get a base camp set, because Alfie's going to be here in a minute, and we better get the kettle on. Well, with the podcast recorded, I sat back to take in the sights of the city. But it wasn't long before the phone pinged. I glanced down, and Alfie, who'd literally just moved up to my left, had already got one in the net.
Mate, I can't leave you for 2 seconds.
Managed to catch one.
Mate, you managed to catch one while I've literally been staring at a sheet of water without a fish in sight.
Well, I definitely see one close in here standing off there earlier with you. And yeah, when I got here, there was just like quite a lot showing. They must have started showing as I got in the swim.
Yeah, and take a bit of that.
Couldn't get the third rod out and the rod went. But exactly what I explained earlier, like, I'm not ashamed to admit that, yeah, I do use a little remote boat on here, because they're just being chased around so much that when you're dropping onto shows and you use a little boat and a handful of bait, like, they still were showing after I dropped them 2 rods, and before I got the third out, it was away. So yeah.
Mate, well done. That took about a minute, 2 minutes.
10 minutes. Yeah, little Stow common. I actually lost a little one as well. Darted in the bush to my left. But 2 bites when I was only coming down to record the podcast with you. Can't complain at that.
Mate, you've basically shown us the Stow way, and we need to take a leaf out of your book to try and catch one.
The tactics definitely do work.
Well, after seeing Alfie's common, that sort of spurred me on a little bit, but the rain clouds were rolling in and it was torrential for about an hour. No sooner had the rain clouds rolled past and the sun started to poke its head out, then I had a take on the right hand rod, which nearly ripped the rod off the rest. Now, this fish knew all the tricks in the book. It was trying to get into the left margin in the snags, down to the right, and it really was but nip one and pearl one. But eventually I slipped the net under my first Walthamstow carp. I was so happy to have got one in the net, saved the blank, but little did I know at that stage that was just the start of things to come, and what a crazy session was about to unfold.
That is a huge fish! Oh my god! Oh my god!
And I'm getting completely slowed down. No worries. Well, I slipped that one back and got the rod out pretty quickly. And no sooner had I sat back to make a cup of tea, the rod was away again. But this one had a whole different idea. It had kited on a long line down to my left under all the overhanging trees, which is not good.
It's not where I want it to be.
It's a battle that I won, and no sooner had I admired my first prize, I had another one sat in the net.
Oh, you've beaten it.
No.
You will.
It's coming into this margin and really close.
Yeah, you've beaten it. Let me turn it off.
That is a proper old, crusty, melted fin, skinned lower Maynard mirror. And that's what I really hoped I was going to catch one of those, because they are absolutely ancient. And it is already, that is trip made. You know, that is definitely what I came to catch. Really chuffed. So, yes, mate, give me a second, give you a rest, and I'll make sure I get some good footage and a couple of pics to savour the memory. Well, I don't know what to say. I've had one fish, as you've already seen already, finishing the podcast and taking the plunge into sort of setting up a camp and deciding to put a bit of bait in the area has already paid dividends, because I've got another one. Hopefully I've got the battle on my GoPro, but it was a vicious battle, and I felt like it was a bit of a better fish, taking line at range, and I've got it in the net right now, and it's one of the real old Walthamstow Warlocks. I kind of recognise it from some of the old photos I've seen in here in the past. But yeah, what a start, what a start. I mean, the weather's been biblical, with the big winds and the bit of rain and the low pressure. You know, above all, those are the factors that have helped put these fish in the net, I'm sure. So it's looking good for tonight, that's the main thing. I'm going to put a little bit more bait out. I mean, I'm going to put it straight out now while the fish is in the net, because it seems to be that they are almost coming. Both takes have come after I put a bit of bait out. Only 3 or 4 spoms of bait, but the takes have come really quickly. So I'm just going to get a couple of guys to give me a hand with this one and hoist him up and admire my prize. One more for luck.
Hooray!
I don't think he liked being caught, that one. That's 2 in the same net.
We got them, Mason.
I reckon he's 31.
Ooh. Not quite, he's 29 and a few ounces.
Look at that. He's got like multi-layers of mucus on his back. Just this glass eye over here is all clouded up. He's really old. And he's probably older than me. And that is saying something. Absolutely amazing. Amazing carp. Right, there we go. The second one of the brace. In amongst the madness that is Walthamstow towpath and some passers-by. And yes, there's been a few wows. Look at that. Look at the size of that one. Is that from here? And yeah, part and parcel, I guess, of catching lovely carp in amongst some public surroundings. But what a brace of carp. Well over £50, that brace. Puts us in a great position to go into the evening and put a bit of bait out in the swim and see if we can get any more. Well, I'm taking a little bit of a lull in that little flurry of carp, because when I got into the swim, I had a little lead around and I couldn't really decide where to put the rods. And I brought some weed in. It's pretty silty and weedy out there, and it contained loads of these smashed up zebra mussels. Now, carp absolutely love zebra mussels. Inside each one of these shells is a lovely little morsel, but these ones have obviously been eaten or smashed up for some reason. I have no idea what. But it was the only bit of weed that I brought in with some natural food in it. Yes, zebra mussels can play havoc with you in terms of your line and whatnot. They can be a bit treacherous. But this was all festooned in the weed and it was all smashed up. So to me, that tells me Mr. Carp's been in there having a feed. So that's where the rod's gone, near that weed bed. And ironically, that's the rod that's done 3 bites this afternoon. So coincidence or not, I'm not too sure. But that is definitely, well, most definitely carp fodder. And have I found a little honey pot? I think so, because all those 3 fish, as I say, have been off 1 rod. So yes, that give the game away, I think. When there was nothing out there, that was the only thing I had to go on. So there we are, the old zebras. Well, the day's coming to a close. got the rigs ready to go out tonight. The rigs that are obviously working, which is great. I managed to get the podcast done with Alfie. It was lovely to see him. And in fact, he just went up the way there and took about half an hour and caught a lovely common. So clearly he knows what he's doing. This is obviously local territory for Alf. So yeah, that was lovely to see that one. But as I said, these rods are going to go out now with a bit of bait. I'm going to probably put 3 or 4 kilos out over the top because the conditions are just too good not to give them a bit of food. It feels like it's the first time in a long time that the air pressure's dropped and it's cooled off a little bit, and yeah, it just feels like they could be up for a feed. Obviously, I put a bit of bait out after every fish today and I'm getting fairly quick takes. So that's the plan. Little toppers, Mike's usual rig really, which is double baits, little smelly hook baits on the top to combat some of this silt, and I'm going to be fishing them over that weed where all those crushed zebra mussels were. So that's the plan, and I'll check back in either tonight or first thing in the morning, hopefully with a carp in the net. Well, the rods went out really sweet. After today's result, as you can imagine, confidence was high. I knew if I could just repeat everything that happened today, put a little bit more bait out, there was a chance of a few more. Now the rods went out perfectly into those silty areas. I was fishing really light leads not to sink into the silt, and I kicked back and I was treated to, let's just say, not your average normal view of the far bank. Totally different, but after all, this is London and the lights never sleep. Well, good morning, and I am looking a bit dishevelled. I can sum my night up really simply. The bait did its job. I've got netfuls of fish. I'm knackered, I've had no sleep, I've run out of water, and I've run out of bait, and I've run out of nets. It's been crazy. But firstly, it's always a bit strange kind of spending a night in the city. It's a city that never sleeps. The hustle and bustle goes on all through the night, so I didn't get much sleep. You know, there's always a lot of noise here in the city. It's very different to the Sleepy Hollow that is the Cotswolds. But about 7:30, 7:45, I've had a flurry of action. I've got 3 cracking carp to photograph. I'm just waiting for Liam to come by. He can sort of pick up the camera, get some steals and get a bit of video. And as you can see, I'm very, very tired, but with a big grin on my face. That's what it's all about, isn't it? Carp fishing is meant to sort of be relaxing. Definitely not this morning. It has been chaotic, to say the least. So I'm going to need a double scoop coffee. That's really important. And clearly, putting a bit of bait out worked. So I'm really chuffed that it's all going well. You know, when you're carrying the cameras around, recording your own blogs, etc., sometimes it doesn't go according to plan, and it's a nightmare carrying stuff around anyway. You know, you feel a little bit anchored, but sort of settling in an area and giving them a bit of bait has definitely been a tactic that's proved fruitful, and it looks good for today too. I've got to get back to the car, get some more bait. I fell in, Calamity Mike slid down the bank, so I'm absolutely soaked, and I'm going to then catch up with Liam and have a hearty breakfast, because Liam's just moved up to my left. There's clearly some fish showing off to the left there. We've seen about half a dozen, so I'm sure if Liam can get some baits on him pretty quickly, it isn't going to be long before he's going to give me a shout to hopefully do the honours back. So but for the time being, big strong coffee, and get ready to admire some lovely inner city carp.
After a hectic night, a very little sleep, you want that morning coffee. You don't want to see this lurking in your cup under your bed chair, do you? Oh, I hate slugs. I absolutely hate slugs. Oh no! Wait, let's get that kettle on. Well, got a bit of a jog on because Liam hasn't got one and he's literally had the rod out 5 minutes, so apologies for the wobbly camera, but I've just got to get around this corner and hopefully we'll see another stow carp. Right.
See a bit of leg go.
We're winning, hopefully. Ooh.
Oh, he's quite decent.
It was a lot bigger now than we did, didn't it?
That's a 30-pounder. Mate, brilliant. you made a meal of it, but it was worth it, looks of it.
Yeah, definitely. Oh. God, he wasn't coming off, was he? No, I reckon that's £35.
32. Let's do that. Mate, he's a cool one.
Yeah. Just shows cut a quick move this morning from probably only a couple of 100 yards down the bank, but in the right spot made all the difference. You've got to be on your toes here, big time.
Well, I hadn't picked the best area for videoing, I must add, because the water treatment works had a hum and the sound of the running water did interfere with the mics a little bit. But it was soon time to head round the corner to admire my prizes. Right, that's the first one of a hectic night, as I said. A lovely Stowe Warlock of a mirror. That's excreting tiny little zebra shells, so the decision to put a bait in amongst all those zebra shells in the weed, in the silkweed, has obviously paid off. Lovely. He is absolutely lovely. Well, there we are. The second fish of the morning, and one known, I believe, as the Old Italian. Liam knows about the history of Walthamstow far better than me, but he said this was a well-known fish on this complex. Probably in its heyday, £35. The skin is all rough, it looks like sandpaper. Feels like sandpaper, shall I say. And it's probably 40 years old, but what a carp. It just looks like something from the Stone Age. Clearly probably at the end of its life, to be honest. It's probably seen better days, so what it lacks in looks, it definitely makes up in history, and I feel privileged to be holding a carp this old. A proper Walthamstow warrior. Well, I'm soaked through to the skin. Liam's done a sterling job with the camera. That's 2 fish down, and luckily I brought a change of clothes in the car, and we've got one more to go. This is a really different fish, probably a new generation of what the Stowe has on offer. Definitely a younger carp, and I'm pretty sure in the dim light of an hour ago it was a leatherish sort of looking mirror. So I'm going to get him out, have a little look, and then I'm probably going to go and dry off, change clothes, and have a celebratory breakfast. Definitely need a cup of coffee, because yes, I'm exhausted. But beggars can't be choosers, I'm not going to moan. A morning full of carp is exactly what I hoped for. We'll spin him round, have a quick look at the other side. Would you believe it? Still the same, a leather. As they usually are. Not much difference in this side, but a lovely fish all the same. Don't get many like this, so I'm really chuffed. Let's get you back. Yes! Brilliant. That is a man who's very smug about himself this morning. Sat there lapping up the London Rays. Mate, what? That is a serious bit of hattage.
Thank you.
How do you feel about this new hat?
I'm pleased with it, yeah.
Yeah? Benefits are?
Keeps the sun off your head and off your neck.
Yeah.
What more do you want? And it's pretty fashion conscientious too.
Yeah, mate, you look the part. The only thing that's missing is loads of little dangly bits with corks on it. And then you could be like Rex Hunt. Skibbity, 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 dog.
A yibbida yibbida, folks. I've seen one as well.
Have you?
Yeah, about 10 minutes ago.
Mate, so did I.
Did you?
I reckon the same one over by you.
It looked more to the left. It wasn't far between when I was casting rods about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, yeah. Mate, there's a
Decent
chance.
fish, yeah.
There's a chance this evening again, I reckon.
100%, yeah.
In the meantime, I think it's got to be time for breakfast, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
What we having? Eggs?
Not only do you look half the
I brought
part.
eggs.
Is that it?
Yeah.
What else have you brought to the table?
That's it. That's it.
Eggs.
Yeah, but you can use the box afterwards for whatever you want.
What, refill eggs?
That's part of me. That's part of the deal. You can keep the box.
Mate, I'm really concerned for a man who's been carp fishing a long time. Like, Look
The
at
chair.
Look at the chair. What is
Car
that?
boot, mate. The bloke wanted 2 for a tenner. I got them down to £5 in the end, with a bit of bargaining.
Mate,
They weren't this tired, they're brand new when I got them.
yeah, if anyone
One of
sees
my best
me,
car boots finds this.
look at it.
Mate, they can't see the chair, can they?
Who's they?
The car. They don't know what chair I'm sat on.
Do you think the chair makes a difference?
Hard to say.
Well, with breakfast done, me and Liam were soon chewing the fat over successful methods, and what became pretty clear was we were both catching on yellow hook baits. Now, was it the colour? I really don't think so, because if you look at the water, it was pea green. What I think it was more to do with was how stinky these hook baits were. Now, me and Liam had both over-flavoured them, and I do believe that was helping to prevent the silt penetrating the boilies. So, yes, it was yellow that was doing the bites, and before we knew it, it was time to head back to the car to get some replenishments. But old Mason, he decided to take the easy route.
Why have you got special treatment? You're getting a lift back to fill your water butt up. Just because you caught a 30
Drive on, Cliff,
pounder.
drive on, don't worry about these menials. If you could have a tidy up my swim while I'm gone, that'd be great. Thank
Oh
you.
yeah, no worries, mate.
Drive
I'll,
on, Cliff,
I'll make a
drive
cup
on.
of tea.
Edit them photos, please. Thank you.
He literally thinks he's the Grand Old Duke of York. Look at him. I got my water butt and I'm going to have to walk back and he gets a taxi. Bye, mate! Typical Liam, that is. Lazy git.
Well, after picking some replenishments up from the car, I headed back to my plot, and to be honest, I took the shoes off, kicked back, and had a relax. While the sun was warming my face, everything felt great with the world. We came to catch some really old carp, and in the last 24 hours, we caught carp beyond our wildest dreams. This was turning into a session to remember. But just as I was getting comfortable, looking forward to that lovely drifting off to sleep moment where everything feels great with the world, I got a whistle from a good friend Mason from up the bank, and once again he was into another Walthamstow carp.
Well, Liam's decided to bring all the carp into his swim. How's it going?
Good, mate. I couldn't watch you do it any longer, so I thought I'm going to have to start trying. And it's easy as that, you know.
It looks like you've had a sleep.
I haven't, honestly. I've been working from home.
Working from the bank.
Yeah, and then I've seen about 6 fish in the last couple of hours.
Well, I've seen
no,
nothing.
last 20 minutes.
I think you could be on
And,
for a hatful.
Feels really small now, actually. It felt quite big to start with. Feels like it might be a
Well, I don't know.
I think it's a little lively one, to be honest with you, but all welcome. Every bite from here is hard earned.
Mate, you're definitely
Although you're
taking...
making it look easy, it's not normally. I've done quite a few, I've probably done 4 or 5 trips on this reservoir over the years and not caught anything yet, so to get a bite is not as easy as it seems.
Well, mate, I think it's the conditions, because they're coming thick and fast now, aren't they?
Yeah, it's absolutely spot on.
Little yellow pop up.
Yellows again, yeah.
Oh, yellow for the win.
And every sort of every 10 minutes I've been putting 9 boilies out. Is the optimum number in the stick until the seagulls get you. So you get 3 sets of 3 out and then they're on you. 10's too many. Might as well throw it in the bin.
Mate, I'll get the
It's
net in a
taken me
minute.
all day to figure that out. Let's stay on. Yes!
Oh my
God.
goodness me.
Happy days.
Liam only catches big carp. Big carp, Mason.
Correct. Mega,
Oh, dear.
mate. Yeah, really chuffed with this.
Look
I
at
just
that.
love the shape of them. I love how different they all are here as well. Like, you really never know what you're going to catch next, and that's the joy of carp fishing. Like, I mean, does it get much better than that?
Look at that.
Look at that. That is amazing.
Right, mate, I'll put this down and I'll take a few stills, but well done.
Well, after slipping that fish back, me and Liam sat down in the long grass with massive grins on our faces like Cheshire cats. We giggled like kids and reminisced over the last 24 hours.
Nothing like pulling a few hairs, mate. I bet that's
trim back. Lovely.
We had a couple of cups of celebratory tea, and before long, I was almost heading back to my plot to get prepared for the evening. Now, was it going to be a repeat of this morning's events? In a strange way, I hope not, because I was exhausted and I needed some sleep. But of course, you want to press the step and repeat button. So I put another couple of kilos of bait out, sat back, looked at the evening drawing in, full of anticipation. Wondered what was going to happen, and I didn't have to wait long before the action kicked off.
Well, the rod's been out less than half an hour with a good kilo of bait round it, and that is another old Walthamstow mirror. Sadly, I've got a light for the video camera, which is what I'm using now, but I forgot my flash, so I'm a bit gutted. I'm not going to be able to get these still shots, but hopefully I'll get a little bit of video, and he's probably close to £30, maybe high 20s. I haven't weighed some of them today, but that one I will just have a little look, because it's a lovely old crusty carp. Right, let's try and sort myself out. Well, there he is. Obviously the flash is not going to do it any justice, but maybe a known one. Look at that tail. Let's have a look, Lee.
It's definitely a known one with that old tail.
Yeah, look at him.
Beautiful.
Cracker.
Oh, look at how lumpy it is.
Old lumpy carp.
Oh, look at the dorsal. A little spiky bit at the end.
Amazing.
Wow.
Right. How about that? £30, 8 ounces. Absolute antique mirror carp. Wow. Absolute wow. Fantastic. Well, good morning. This is the last morning of my lovely 40 hours fishing here at Walthamstow, and as you can probably tell, I am a broken man. I've had a red letter session. Hopefully you've seen it unfold in the blog, and yeah, this extra cup of coffee this morning is needed because I've got to drive back to Bristol in an hour or so. But first, I've got some fish to sort out once again. I think I've got a £30 common in both of my nets, as well as a lovely mirror of about £25. They went off in sequence on all 3 rods this morning at about 7:30, and to be honest, I'm tired. I'm really tired. Everything's worn out. I mean, the batteries are wearing down. I've got no GoPro batteries left. I've used 3 camera batteries, not what I expected. Got no gas, clinging on to the embers of caffeine here, and but as you can probably tell, there is a smile under all this because I had the most incredible session. It just blew my mind to spend some time here in the urban jungle that is Walthamstow. It's an incredible place, and not only that, to sharing Liam's captures, to sharing Alfie's captures, it really has felt like maybe like a once in a lifetime trip. Could I repeat this? Probably not. Am I going to drive home with a massive smile on my face? You bet I am. But first and foremost, fuel the tank and sort these fish out with what little battery I've got left. Well, as I mentioned, this is the first one. Time's running out, and it was 33.8, so there's a good possibility I've got a brace of £30 commons here to finish off the trip, and just wow, you know, I can't believe how it's gone, and this is an absolute chunk of a fish. Steady. Steady. Oh. There. Look at that. Look at that. Oh. Bloody hell. Right, let's put him back and it's time to get him back and get the other one, because yes, I think they're 2 peas in a pod. There we go, I was right. It was a brace of 30-pound commons, and this one's got a really cool folded over tail, and this one is 31.8. They look peas in a pod, but what a night's fishing. Wow, look at that. Tiny little mouth, and it's time to wrap things up. Well, that's it. All good things come to an end.
Yeah.
What are you saying, Liam?
One of the best 48 hours I've ever had fishing these reservoirs.
Can we top it off with mushrooms for breakfast?
Yes, and I've got the perfect place. Tommy's tuck-in.
Let's go for it.
Come on, mate. Let's get